Have you ever wondered why some women linger in a man's mind long after she has left his life? Why he thinks of her in silence? Why he measures every woman after her? Why a part of him seems unable to detach even when he claims he has moved on? The answer is not found in charm, beauty, or seduction. It lies deeper, in the invisible psychological threads that bind a man not through desire, but through emotional imprint. What truly makes a man emotionally addicted to a woman has less to do with what she gives him, and more to do with what she awakens inside him. A man may grow obsessed with a woman's body, but obsession fades. Fascination may hold his attention, but fascination wanders. Addiction, true emotional addiction, comes from something far more profound. She is a mirror to his soul. In her presence, he feels seen not for who the world told him to be, but for who he secretly longs to become. She calls forth parts of him he has abandoned. She awakens strength where he has felt small, softness where he has felt hardened, hope where he has carried silent despair. Her energy doesn't just attract him, it confronts him, shapes him, and pulls him into a silent psychological reckoning. Most men wander through life armored. Society asked them to be strong, so they buried their emotions. They learned early that vulnerability is risky, that tenderness is weakness, that softness invites betrayal. So they build thick walls and call it masculinity. They protect themselves with silence, avoidance, and empty laughter. They chase distractions, money, status, casual encounters, yet remain starved without realizing why. Then suddenly, she enters. Not just any woman, a rare one. A woman who speaks deeply, not loudly. A woman who carries emotional weight not because she is dramatic, but because she is awake. A woman who does not beg to be chosen because she has already chosen herself. And the moment he meets her, something ancient moves inside him. Something mysterious, beyond logic, beyond timing. She does not entertain his surface. She speaks to his depth. A man becomes emotionally addicted to a woman when she reaches a place inside him that he has long avoided, his emotional truth. In the language of Carl Jung, she activates his unconscious, the realm of buried fears, exiled desires, forgotten dreams, and shadow wounds. She is the archetype of integration, the feminine force that does not destroy him, but pulls him toward wholeness. She is not perfect, but she is present. She carries a gravity that pulls him toward authenticity. He finds himself wanting to say things he has never said, revealing emotions he has always suppressed. Around her, honesty feels natural. Guardedness feels heavy. Games feel absurd. And the more he reveals, the more he wants to return to her, not for pleasure, but for peace. Yet emotional addiction does not come from kindness alone. He does not become emotionally addicted simply because she loves him. Many women love deeply. What makes a man addicted is rarely love itself, but the balance she holds between love and boundaries. She is not controlled by her emotions. She channels them with purpose. She does not beg for attention, yet she commands it. She values connection, but honors herself first. Her presence feels like home, yet her standards remind him he cannot live at home forever. He must grow. This duality pierces him. She offers him both comfort and challenge, warmth and distance, compassion and confrontation. She is the embodiment of emotional polarity, the rare balance between softness and power that awakens a man's instinct to rise. She does not punish him when he retreats. She allows it, and he becomes unsettled by her silence. She does not collapse when he withdraws emotionally. She pauses and watches. She does not chase his absence. She holds herself with sacred restraint. And he feels it, not as a rejection, but as an invitation to return as a better man. Her presence triggers his evolution. She becomes the catalyst he didn't know he needed. Many men try to walk away from such a woman when they first meet her. Her depth frightens them. Her intuition exposes them. Her emotional intelligence disarms them. They tell themselves they're not ready, but the truth is simpler. She threatens their old identity. To stay with her, he must shed his emotional armor, and not every man is prepared to face his own soul. But no man truly forgets a woman who forced him to meet himself. She remains imprinted in his psyche, not as a wound, but as a shift in consciousness. Long after she leaves, he will sit in silence and remember her. Not her beauty, not her words, not her touch, but the man he became in her presence. If a man becomes emotionally addicted to anything, it is never to a woman. It is to the feeling she gives him. With her, his emotions do not scare him. With her, his soul does not feel alone. With her, his truth does not feel shameful. She does not complete him. She reveals him to himself. And once a man has tasted that level of truth, he becomes unwilling, no, unable, to return to ordinary connection. Ordinary suddenly feels empty. Superficial feels unbearable. He no longer desires a woman he can possess. He seeks a woman who awakens him. He seeks the feminine that calls him into purpose. He seeks not pleasure anymore, but meaning. Some women carry a magnetic presence that cannot be imitated. Their allure has nothing to do with strategies, games, or manipulative tactics. It is not a performance. It is not flirtation. It is not engineered. What draws a man to them, what makes him circle back mentally, emotionally, spiritually, is the rare quality of emotional sovereignty. These women do not beg to be chosen because they live by a deeper law. The soul is not a negotiable thing. They do not adjust their standards to keep a man. They do not sacrifice their truth in exchange for affection. They do not dilute their essence to make others comfortable. And this terrifies men, yet fascinates them. Because she is not controlled by desire, she is not consumed by fear. Because she does not depend on his validation, her love carries weight. A woman becomes unforgettable when she stops needing a man to regulate her emotions. She doesn't crumble when he is distant, nor does she idolize him when he returns. She walks with emotional rhythm, giving love freely, withdrawing when necessary, never forcing what does not flow. To the unconscious man, she feels like a mystery. But her mystery is simply self-awareness. Her power is not external. It is rooted in her detachment from chaos. In the language of Jung, she has integrated both her light and her shadow. She no longer hides from her emotional wounds. She has walked through them and built a throne from their ashes. And a man feels this even if he cannot explain why. He becomes emotionally addicted, not because she gives him everything he wants, but because she gives him what he has never known: emotional clarity. Her words cut through superficiality. She says little, but every word lands with impact. She listens beyond the noise of language. She hears truth beneath excuses, intentions beneath actions. She does not react impulsively. She responds consciously. When conflict rises, she does not explode. She does not beg. She does not collapse. She remains still, and stillness has a strange way of making a man confront himself. Emotional addiction begins the moment a man realizes she cannot be controlled by his old patterns. He pushes, she does not cling. He withdraws, she does not chase. He tests her patience. She chooses peace over drama and distance over disrespect. He tries to provoke her jealousy. She remains unmoved, not because she doesn't care, but because she knows her worth. This is the moment he feels it, the fear of losing her. And not just losing her presence, but losing what he becomes with her. For perhaps the first time in his life, he meets a woman who does not abandon herself for him. And that forces a question he has avoided his whole life. Why does he seek love that requires self-betrayal? She does not feed his ego. She feeds his evolution. And this terrifies him, because true love the rare kind that awakens a man, demands transformation. This is why many men run from deep feminine energy. It is not weakness that makes them retreat, it is resistance to change. But no matter how far he runs, he carries her imprint, because she did not just touch his heart, she awakened his conscience. When a woman holds emotional sovereignty, she lives by a quiet code of self-respect. She does not need to announce it, her presence reveals it. A man becomes addicted to this vibration because it is so rare. Most women, shaped by fear, crave reassurance and lose themselves for the illusion of certainty. But a truly sovereign woman stands alone if she must. She does not fear solitude, she fears betrayal of her own soul, and so she moves differently. She does not audition for a relationship. She does not chase lukewarm love. She does not explain her boundaries to people committed to misunderstanding her. She is at peace with being misunderstood, and this makes her powerful. But addiction does not come only from her boundaries. It comes from her depth. She is not distant, she is cautious. She is not cold, she is discerning. She is not closed, she is selective. She does not waste emotional intimacy. She does not pour life into temporary people. When she gives with intensity. Yet her intensity is not chaos. It is presence. She sees him before he speaks. She understands silence. She embraces his vulnerability without diminishing his strength. She does not shame him when he reveals his wounds. She honors his honesty. Her softness does not make her weak. It makes her irresistible to the soul. Every man longs to feel safe enough to be real, but he doesn't always know this. He covers that longing with distractions, denial, and shallow connections. But the feminine that meets him at the level of his soul, she breaks his defenses. She sees not only who he is, but who he could be. She awakens his hidden greatness. She awakens the man he has been running from, and deep down, he knows it. She does not want to control him. She wants to witness him rise. Time will pass. Distance may separate. But no matter what, she becomes the standard he cannot downgrade from. He may attempt to replace her with easier love, but his soul rejects imitation. He may silence his longing, but silence only intensifies it. Because once a man has tasted soulful connection, nothing else is enough. He will crave it. He will search for it. He will always feel the pull toward the woman who did not seduce him, but awakened him. A man does not become emotionally addicted to a woman because she fills his time. He becomes addicted because she fills what time cannot touch, his longing for wholeness. She does not complete him, and that is precisely why he becomes bound to her presence. Completion is an illusion born of dependency. But awakening is eternal. And when she enters his life, something awakens within him that he didn't know had fallen asleep. Purpose, not ambition, not external success. Purpose, the alignment between his actions and his soul. For years, perhaps his entire life, he has pursued what the world told him to chase: achievement, reputation, control. He has tasted victories yet felt strangely empty in their aftermath. He has known desire yet felt haunted by a hollow echo inside him. That echo is the unclaimed self, the soul neglected beneath layers of performance. Most men never face that emptiness, they hide from it. But in her presence, her stillness, her honesty, her sacred fire, he cannot hide. She does not expose his wounds to shame him. She reveals them by simply existing. Because she lives in truth, illusion breaks in her presence. She is not impressed by superficial attraction. She cares for what moves a man, not what distracts him. She sees his potential, not just his projection. And that is why he becomes emotionally bound to her essence. A man grows addicted to the woman who recognizes his buried greatness. Not because she flatters him, but because she sees past the noise, into the architecture of his spirit. She sees his discipline where he sees his doubt. She sees his leadership where he sees his hesitation. She sees his good heart buried under silent pain. She respects not the role he plays, but the truth he hides. She does not idolize him. She calls him forth. Many women speak of love. Few speak to a man's destiny. The woman who imprints on him forever is the one who reminds him that his life is not a random event, but a mission. She does not demand that he be perfect, only that he be present. She does not ask for constant happiness, only honesty. She does not expect relentless strength, only courage. And she does not want emptiness disguised as control. She wants the rawness of a soul unafraid to evolve. This is where emotional addiction begins. Not in romance, not in fantasy, not in lust, but in transformation. He knows subconsciously that if he stays with her, he will not remain the same man. And he fears this, but he also craves it more than anything. He wants to evolve. Every man does, though few will admit it. Evolution is painful, and the ego prefers comfort. But the soul, it prefers truth. And when he meets a woman who speaks to his soul more than his ego, he is torn between resistance and surrender. This emotional pull transforms into attachment, not because he needs her to survive, but because he needs her to awaken. She does not swallow him. She does not consume him. She expands him. She does not invade his solitude. She honors it. She does not ask for his world. She invites him into hers. And her world is different, ordered not by fear, but by values. She honors loyalty over convenience, depth over distraction, peace over chaos, authenticity over image. She will not remain where manipulation exists. She will not negotiate her self-worth. She has no appetite for emotional games. And this shapes him, whether he wants it to or not. In her presence, he learns emotional discipline, not through demands, but through reflection. When he speaks dishonestly, he feels the vibration of misalignment. When he withdraws in fear, he senses the weight of avoidance. When he moves with integrity, he finds emotional grounding. And slowly, without realizing it, he begins to evolve, not to earn her love, but because her love reminds him of who he truly is. The woman who awakens emotional addiction does not break a man to control him. She breaks his illusions so he can finally lead himself. She does not conquer his mind. She frees it from the prison of ego and fear. She does not overpower him. She empowers him. Around her, he experiences something he has never felt: emotional safety without submission. He remains a man, not weakened, but strengthened, not controlled, but challenged, not tamed, but refined. Yet his greatest addiction is not to her love, it is to what he sees in her eyes when he shows up as his higher self, when he acts from courage, not impulse, when he protects with honor, not attachment, when he chooses truth over convenience. In those moments, he sees something in her gaze that no woman has ever reflected back to him. Not admiration, not desire, but reverence. She respects him, not for external achievements, but for his alignment with truth. And a man will cross oceans for a woman who makes him feel worthy, not for what he provides, but for who he is becoming. This is why he remains bound to her long after she leaves his life, because she didn't just love him, she witnessed him, and witnessing is the rarest intimacy. Most connections produce memories. Soul connections produce transformation. He cannot outrun the man she awakened in him. He cannot unhear her silence. He cannot undo the gravity of her presence. She has become a part of his evolution. And once evolution begins, the soul will always seek completion of the journey. To understand emotional addiction at its deepest level, one must first understand masculine hunger, not the hunger of the body, but the hunger of the spirit. Every man carries within him a silent longing he rarely speaks of, the desire to feel anchored in his existence. Modern life has severed many men from this inner anchor. They have become wanderers of ambition, collectors of achievements, conquerors of status, yet prisoners of emotional disconnection. Their days are full and their souls are empty. They are surrounded by people, yet unseen. They are praised, yet unfelt. They are driven, yet lost. This hunger is ancient. It is the ache of the masculine spirit searching for depth in a world obsessed with distraction. And then she arrives, not as a savior, not as a cure, but as a mirror. She carries a depth that unsettles him. She embodies meaning in a world drowning in noise. She has courage in a society addicted to validation. She carries emotional gravity, and gravity pulls. Her existence awakens his dormant soul. And no matter how hard he tries to dismiss it, her presence lingers in him. Like a haunting truth he cannot ignore. He becomes emotionally addicted not to her physical form, but to the state of being he experiences when he is with her. Around her he is more present. Around her he speaks more truth. Around her he feels more human. She does not force him to open up. She simply creates space where his armor feels unnecessary. There is no judgment in her gaze, no desperation in her tone, no manipulation in her silence. She listens, not as an escape from loneliness, but as communion. She is different because she is not reacting to life. She is sculpting it. She does not fear the unknown. She trusts it. She does not chase certainty. She moves with faith. And this frees him to reveal parts of himself that he has exiled to the shadows. But depth is not the only reason he becomes emotionally bound. Consistency is. A woman who knows her worth does not offer emotional chaos. She offers emotional rhythm. Her presence is not a storm, it is a sanctuary. Not because she never feels pain or fear, but because she does not let those emotions rule her. She has mastered emotional balance, not emotional suppression. She allows vulnerability, and vulnerability becomes sacred in her presence. This terrifies a man who has only known criticism or conditional love. He does not understand at first why she feels like home. But home is not a place. Home is where the soul feels seen, and he has never been this seen before. Slowly, he begins to crave her, not out of dependency, but out of resonance. Her presence regulates him. Her energy stabilizes him. Her integrity disciplines him. Her love challenges him. And yet, the more he feels drawn in, the more he fears the power she holds, not because she wields it to control him, but because she does not cling. She could love him, but she would never beg for him. She could choose him, but she would never lose herself for him. And this creates a paradox within him. He desires her deeply, but cannot possess her. She belongs to herself, and that is the rarest form of beauty. She is unattainable not because she is out of his league, but because she is out of the reach of games. She cannot be bought. She cannot be coerced. She cannot be guilted. Her love must be earned, not through performance, but through presence. And the more he experiences her self-worth, the more he interrogates his own. Does he honor his word? Does he act with integrity when no one is watching? Does he choose honesty over comfort? Does he lead himself, or does he abandon himself at the first sign of challenge? Without saying a word, she teaches him. Love is not the merging of two people through need. It is the meeting of two souls through truth. A man becomes emotionally addicted to the woman who does not surrender to his lower nature. She is not seduced by excuses. She is not entertained by half-effort. She does not accept fragments of a man. She requires wholeness, not perfection, but accountability. She knows that the man who hides behind emotional distance is not strong but afraid. She does not shame him, but she will not indulge the weakness of avoidance. If he flees intimacy, she does not chase. If he resists depth, she does not beg. She withdraws, and her absence becomes a revelation. In that silence, he meets his own truth. He was not running from her. He was running from himself. This is why he returns. Again and again, in dreams, in quiet moments, in the space between distractions. When the noise fades and life stands still, he feels the pull, the mysterious thread that ties his growth to her presence. And it is here, in this quiet pull, that emotional addiction becomes destiny. He knows now. She did not come to complete him. She came to awaken him. And once awake, a man cannot return to sleep. There comes a moment, a pivotal, unspoken moment, when a man realizes that he is not simply drawn to her, but bound to her through something far greater than emotion. He begins to understand that she is not just a woman in his life. She is a spiritual threshold. She represents a crossing. To step toward her fully is to leave behind an old identity. She is the dividing line between the unconscious man he used to be and the conscious man he is becoming. He senses it every time he looks at her. Not just desire, not just love, but destiny. Yet destiny demands something he has feared all his life: surrender, not to her, but to truth. And truth always strips away illusions. Around her, he cannot hide behind emotional detachment, empty masculinity, or carefully constructed distance. She sees him. She sees the boy who once closed his heart to survive. She sees the man beneath the armor, still afraid of being seen as weak. She sees the tenderness he has buried under independence. She sees the ache behind his ambition, and though she sees all of it, she does not run. She does not punish him for his darkness. She does not demand perfection. She simply stands as she is, refusing to diminish her light to make his shadows feel comfortable. Her presence becomes both a calling and a confrontation. It is not easy to love a woman who lives in truth. She will not allow emotional laziness. She will not nurture a man's avoidance. Her love has direction. Her soul has standards. Her heart has discipline. She will not sabotage her spirit for closeness. If he chooses to stay small, she will let him go. If he betrays himself, she will not follow. If he fears his own greatness, she will not drag him into it. She will love him, but she will not carry him. And this forces a man to ask himself, does he seek love as comfort or love as awakening? Emotional addiction becomes permanent when a man realizes she is irreplaceable, not because of what she gives him, but because of who he becomes in her presence. Even if they part ways, she remains woven into the architecture of his growth. He may search for her in other women, but all he will find are fragments. Superficial connections will tire him. Disconnected affection will repulse him. Half-love will feel like poison. He has tasted depth, and now he cannot return to hunger disguised as romance. He has glimpsed the man he could be, and now he must either become him or live forever haunted by the version of himself he abandoned. But emotional addiction alone is not enough. Addiction, if left untamed, becomes bondage. It turns longing into obsession and connection into possession. But this story, her story, does not end in bondage. It ends in sovereignty. Because the greatest power of a woman like her lies not in the hold she has over a man, but in the freedom she awakens within him. The final evolution of their connection is not control, but liberation. He must learn what she already knows: to love without losing oneself, to feel without collapsing, to need without clinging, to choose rather than chase, to give without fear, to lead without domination, to surrender without weakness. And when he rises to this level of love, addiction transforms into devotion. Attachment evolves into alignment. Longing becomes purpose. He will finally understand that she was never testing him. she was preparing him. She was never hard to love. She was impossible to lie to. She was never too much. She was simply not meant for men who are too little with themselves. He now knows that what makes a man emotionally addicted to a woman is the same thing that sets his soul free: her refusal to abandon truth. And if he becomes the man who chooses truth over ego, heart over pride, and evolution over comfort, then she will stand beside him, not as a rescue, but as an equal. Together, they do not build a relationship out of fear or convenience, but out of depth, reverence, and sacred power. They do not echo the love of the world. They redefine it. But if he cannot rise, if he chooses comfort over courage and illusion over transformation, then he will lose her. Not because she stopped loving him, but because she refused to love him at the cost of herself. Her final lesson, the one she lives rather than speaks, is this: real love demands that both souls expand. It never requires one to shrink. And so the final wisdom stands, not in longing, not in dependency, but in divine self-ownership. A man may become emotionally addicted to a woman, but the woman who understands her worth will never let addiction define love. Because she knows the truth, the woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She chooses.